Hello everyone. You are watching the YouTube channel Tarankan. Myself, Dr. Pandurang Darekar, heartily welcomes you to this channel, which will definitely help you to learn science. So friends, today we are going to learn the topic periodic classification of elements. According to the distribution chart, this topic stands for 4 marks and with option it will be for 6 marks. One more thing you have to keep in mind that if you study this topic properly, it will create the proper foundation for class 11th and 12th science. So let us begin the topic. We will start from the definition of elements. What the element is? The element is the fundamental material of the matter. It is the simplest form of the matter which cannot be decomposed into further simpler forms. The properties of the elements will be similar to the properties of the atoms of that elements. So, by any ordinary chemical process, we cannot decompose the elements into simpler substances. For example, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, etc. Now, let us focus on the need for classification. Can't we study the elements individually? Is it not possible? No, definitely it is not possible to study the elements individually. So, let us focus on the reasons of need for classification. You may see that around the year 1800, only 30 elements were known. As this number was very less, scientists were able to study the elements deeply. But as the discovery continued, it was very difficult to gather more and more information about the properties of these elements. It was not only difficult to gather, it was also difficult to organize all the known information about their properties. So, scientists came with their concepts. They started to find some pattern. For the same, they focused on the properties like atomic mass, atomic number, their physical properties and chemical properties. In this topic, we are going to learn the concepts from the 4 scientists. So, let us start with the first one. In the year 1817, the German chemist Dobereiner tried to classify the elements. He tried to find the definite pattern in the properties of the elements. For the same, he made the group of 3 elements and he named this group as a triad. In this triad, he took the elements with the similar properties. When he arranged these elements in the ascending order or increasing order with their atomic masses, he found that the atomic mass of the middle element was approximately equal to the average of atomic masses of other 2 elements. To justify the statement, let's have an example. On the screen, you will see one triad. In that triad, the 3 elements are lithium, sodium and potassium. According to Dobereiner, these 3 elements were having similar properties. The atomic masses of these elements are 6.9, 23 and 39.1 units respectively. If we go according to the Dobereiner's triad, we will arrange these elements into ascending order of their atomic masses. Now we will take the average of atomic masses of other 2 elements, that is lithium and potassium. If we take an average, the average comes to 23, which is approximately equal to the atomic mass of the middle element, that is sodium. Let us have few more examples to learn the Dobereiner's triad. You may note it down or take the screenshot. Now, it's a time for activity. 3 examples are shown to you. You have to find that whether these three triads follow Dobbe-Reiner's rule or no? Finally, how can we summarize the statement of Dobbe-Reiner's triad? It will be like this. When elements are arranged in the ascending order of their atomic masses in a triad, then the atomic mass of the middle element is approximately equal to the average of atomic masses of other two elements. Now we will go to the second law. The second law was put forth by an English scientist, John Newland, in 1866. He also tried to find the correlation of the properties of the elements with their atomic masses. He also arranged the elements in the ascending order of their atomic masses. He started with the element hydrogen, which was the lightest element, and he ended at the thorium. Thorium was the 56th element known at that time. Then he found that the properties of every 8th element are similar to the properties of first element. He also compared this discovery with the octaves found in the music. You might have heard about the 7 main notes found in the Indian music system. These notes are Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni. And again Sa repeats. That means the first and 8th musical note is similar. After each saptak, the 8th musical note repeats. In the same way, the properties of first and 8th elements are similar and they repeat after the gap of 7. Now let us try to understand this law with few examples. You can see the chart prepared by Newland by arranging the elements in the ascending order of their atomic masses. Let us try to understand the law of octaves. You see, in the second column, 3 elements are highlighted. Lithium is the first element. After lithium, the 8th element will be sodium. According to the law of octaves, the properties of lithium and sodium are similar. After sodium, the 8th element is potassium. Then the properties of sodium and potassium are similar. You may take another example. Let us go to the 4th column. In the 4th column, the element boron and aluminium are present. If you consider boron as the first element, after boron, the 8th element will be aluminium. And according to the law of octaves, the properties of boron and aluminium are similar. Though Newland tried to classify all the 56 elements that were known at that time, the law of octave was also having some limitations. Let us try to discuss the limitations of Newland's law of octave. The first limitation is that the law of octaves was only applicable up to calcium. You may see in the chart, the chart prepared by the Newland contains 56 elements, but the law of octave was only applicable up to calcium. After calcium, the elements were not following the pattern shown by the Newland's laws of octaves. The second limitation was he placed 2 elements at the same place in some boxes. Let us go to the first column. At the 4th place, cobalt and nickel, these 2 elements are kept at the same place. The third limitation was there was no any provision to put up newly discovered element. And the fourth limitation was at some places he put elements with different properties under the same note. For example, cobalt and nickel are metals. Metals always have tendency to lose electrons, and these metals are kept with halogens. You may see in the first column that fluorine, chlorine, bromine, these halogens are kept with cobalt and nickel. Thus, we can summarize that Newland's law of octaves worked well with lighter elements only. Now, we will go to the third law. Soon after the discovery of Newland's octaves, around 1872, Mendeleev formulated a concept known as Mendeleev's periodic law. And on the basis of this law, he constructed a periodic table known as Mendeleev's periodic table. The discovery of Mendeleev's periodic table was the most important step in the classification of elements. Mendeleev considered the atomic mass is the fundamental property of the atom. He arranged all the elements in the ascending order of their atomic masses. At that time, 63 elements were known, and he arranged all the 63 elements in the ascending order. He found that the physical and chemical properties of the element are the periodic functions of their atomic masses. That is, the elements with the similar physical and chemical properties repeat after a definite interval. After examining some physical and chemical properties like molecular formula of the hydrides and oxides of the element, melting point, boiling point, as well as density of the element, he organized all these elements into a periodic table. You can see this periodic table on the screen. The vertical columns in the periodic table are called as groups, while the horizontal rows in the periodic table are called as periods. Mendeleev was the most important contributor to the early development of the periodic table of elements. Now, let us try to focus the merits of Mendeleev's periodic table. Mendeleev was the most successful scientist who classified all the 63 elements which were known at that time. Mendeleev's periodic table is based on atomic mass. But with respect to time, or by the discovery of correct techniques to determine the atomic mass of some elements was revised. For example, the atomic mass of beryllium was 14.09, which was changed to its correct value 9.4. So, after the revised atomic mass of beryllium was discovered, it was successfully placed before boron. Mendeleev also left some gaps or some vacant places in his periodic table, and instead of looking these gaps as a fault, he bravely predicted the properties of these unknown elements. He also named these elements by putting a prefix Ika. For example, Ika boron, Ika aluminium, and Ika silicon. After discovery of these elements, these were renamed as scandium, gallium, and germanium respectively. And surprisingly, the properties of the newly discovered elements were matched with the properties predicted by the Mendeleevs, which includes atomic mass, density, melting point, formula of the chlorides and oxides. Now we'll go to the next point. The inert gases or noble gases were discovered very late after the discovery of Mendeleev's periodic table. And after the discovery of these noble gases were successfully added into the Mendeleev's periodic table as a zero group without disturbing the original sequence of the periodic table. But apart from all these achievements, the Mendeleev's periodic table was having some demerits. let us try to understand the demerits of Mendeleev's periodic table. If you carefully observe the Mendeleev's periodic table, you may see that the rise in the atomic mass do not appear to be uniform. So, it becomes highly impossible to predict how many elements could be discovered between two heavy elements. According to Mendeleev, the elements belonging to the same group have similar properties. But if you look to the seventh group, you may see that manganese is a metal and it has been kept with halogens like fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. Now we'll go to the next point. Mendeleev's periodic table is based on the increasing order of the atomic masses. But this increasing order is not seen at some places. For example, the atomic mass of cobalt is 58.9 and the atomic mass of nickel is 58.7. As per the increasing order is considered, cobalt should come after nickel. But if you see the fourth period, you can see that cobalt came before nickel. Now we'll go to the last one. In Mendeleev's periodic table, it is seen that the hydrogen has not got proper place because the electronic configuration of hydrogen resembles to the alkali metals, that is group 1 metals. These elements have valency 1. Hydrogen can combine with halogens and oxygens and sulfur to form the compounds having similar formulae like alkali metals. But on the other hand, the hydrogen also exists as diatomic molecules like halogens. For example, chlorine, fluorine, bromine, etc. On considering all above properties, it was very difficult to decide the exact position of hydrogen. One more thing, the isotopes cannot be introduced into the Mendeleev's periodic table. Now the question is that what are isotopes? Isotopes are the atoms of the same elements having different atomic masses but same atomic number. As the Mendeleev's periodic table is based on atomic mass, one place is only given for one element. Till the discovery of the Mendeleev's periodic table, scientists were unknown about the interiors of the atom. But as the research continued, the discovery of electrons led to the start of new era of research. They also started to correlate the number of electrons in an atom with the properties of the atom. You might have learned that in any atom, the number of electrons is always equal to the number of positively charged particles, that is proton. This number of protons in an atom can be called as the atomic number of that atom. In 1913, the English scientist Henry Moseley has revealed that atomic mass is not the fundamental property of the atom, but the fundamental property of the atom is the atomic number. The atomic number is the total number of protons present in the atom. With the help of this discovery, he formulated the modern periodic law, which can be stated as the physical and chemical properties of the element are the periodic functions of the atomic numbers. This great achievement led to the construction of modern periodic table. The properties of elements can be predicted more accurately with the help of modern periodic table formed on the basis of atomic numbers. To construct the modern periodic table, the elements are arranged in the increasing order of their atomic numbers. As a result, most of the drawbacks shown by Mendeleev's periodic table were removed. Now, we will learn the construction of the modern periodic table. The modern periodic table is also called as long form of periodic table. This periodic table contains 7 horizontal rows that are called as periods and 18 vertical columns called as groups. The entire periodic table is divided into 4 subgroups. These are also called as blocks, and these blocks are S, P, D and F. The S block is present at extreme left side of the periodic table and it consists of first and second group. P block is present at extreme right side of the periodic table and it consists of 13 to 18th group. D block is present in between S and P block and it consists of 3rd to 12th group. And F block is situated at bottom of this periodic table and it consists of lanthanide series and actinide series. In the entire periodic table, we can see 4 types of elements. Let us see the first one, the inert gas elements. In the atoms of inert gas elements, all the shells are completely filled by electrons. Such elements are found in P block. The next type is normal elements. These elements having outermost incomplete shell. That means if only one outermost shell is incomplete, these elements are supposed to be normal elements. Such elements are found in S and P block. Now the third type, transition elements. If outermost 2 shells of an atom are incomplete, then such elements are called as transition elements and such elements are found in D block. And the last one, inner transition elements. These elements are having outermost 3 incomplete shells and such elements are found in F block. Now let us try to understand how the period number of an element is decided. The period number of an element is decided on the basis of number of shells of the atom. To illustrate it, let's take some examples. Lithium. Lithium has atomic number 3. Its electronic configuration is 2,1. It has 2 shells, so it is placed in the second period. Sodium has atomic number 11. Its electronic configuration is 281. So it has 3 shells and it is placed in the third period. Potassium, the atomic number of potassium is 19. Its electronic configuration is 2881. That means it has 4 shells and it must be placed in the fourth period. Now let us try to understand how the group number of an element is decided. The group number of an element is decided on the basis of number of electrons in the outermost shell. These electrons are also called as valence electrons. So, in other words, we can also tell that group number of an element is decided on the basis of number of valence electrons. For example, lithium. The atomic number of lithium is 3. Its electronic configuration is 2,1. It contains 1 valence electron. So, it is placed in the first group. Sodium. Atomic number of sodium is 11. Its electronic configuration is 281. It has 1 electron in the outermost shell. That means the number of valence electron is 1 and it is placed in the first group. Similarly, potassium. The atomic number of potassium is 19. The electronic configuration is 2881. It also has 1 valence electron, so it is placed in the first group. In the same way, now can you tell me the place of calcium if its atomic number is 20? Just guess it. Now let's move to the next concept. If you carefully observe the modern periodic table, you may see that variations are there when we go from left to right in a period or when we come from top to bottom in a group. Such variations have certain regularity, and such regularity is called as periodic trend. Now, let's go to learn such periodic trends. The first trend is valency. First of all, we'll see the definition of valency. The valency is the combining capacity of an atom. It is the number of electrons donated or accepted by an atom. The valency is determined by the number of valence electrons present in the outermost shell of an atom. Now, to understand the trend in a period, let's have the example of third period. The third period starts from sodium and ends with argon. The atomic number, electronic configurations as well as valency is shown in the chart. Look it carefully. As we go from left to right in this period, we see that the valency gradually increases up to 4. Then it gradually decreases and finally becomes 0. So, we can conclude that when we go from left to right in any period, the valency of an element increases up to 4, then it gradually decreases and it becomes 0. Now let's see how the valency changes in a group. To understand it, let's have the example of first group. The first group starts with hydrogen, followed by lithium, sodium and potassium. Now, if you see the electronic configuration and valency from the chart, you may see that the valency of the elements of a same group remains same, because already you know that the group number is decided on the basis of number of valence electrons, and if the number of valence electrons are same, they are always put in the same group. So when we go from top to bottom in any group, the valency remains constant. Let's move to the next periodic trend, atomic size. Atomic size or size of the atom is determined with the help of atomic radius. Atomic radius is the distance between nucleus and the outermost shell of an atom. That means if the element is having only one shell, its atomic radius will be less, and if the element is having 4 shells, its atomic radius will be definitely greater than the previous one comparatively. Now, let us try to understand how this atomic size changes as we go from left to right in a period. To understand, one more time we'll take the example of third period. In the third period, when you see the atomic number as well as electronic configuration from the chart, you see that in a period all the elements are having same number of shells. It means the number of shells or the shell number remains same, but the number of valence electrons, that is the number of electrons present in the outermost shell, gradually increases. We already learned that the number of electrons and the number of protons is always same in any atom. So if the number of electrons are increased in the outermost shell, definitely the number of positively charged proton also increases in the nucleus. As a result, the force of attraction between negatively charged electrons and positively charged protons increases. If the force of attraction increases, the electrons are pulled to the center. And if these are pulled to the center, definitely the distance of the nucleus and the outermost shell decreases. So, we can conclude that when we go from left to right in any period, as the force of attraction increases, the atomic size decreases. Now let's see how this trend behaves in a group. To understand this trend, Once again, we'll take the example of first group. 4 elements from the first group are shown on the screen. The first group starts with hydrogen, followed by lithium, sodium and potassium. If you see their electronic configuration and the atomic number, as we go down the group, the number of shell increases. Hydrogen has 1, lithium 2, sodium 3 and potassium has 4 shells. As the number of shells increases, the distance between nucleus and outermost shell also increases. So we can conclude that down the group, the atomic size always increases due to increase in the number of shells. Now we'll go to the last trend, metallic and non-metallic property. First of all, we'll see the definitions of metallic and non-metallic property. If you see metals always have tendency to donate electrons, and once they donate electron, they form positive ions. This tendency to lose electrons is nothing but the metallic property. On the other hand, non-metals always have the tendency to accept electrons. This tendency to accept electrons is called as non-metallic property. To understand this trend better, let's take the example of third period. In the third period, if you see in the screen, the atomic number as well as electronic configuration is displayed. The third period starts from sodium. Sodium contains 1 electron in the outermost shell, so it will definitely donate its electron. After donating, its new electronic configuration will be 2,8. It will complete its octet and it becomes stable. Similarly, magnesium and aluminium contains 2 and 3 electrons in the outermost shell. They will also donate these electrons and they will complete the octet and they will attain the stability. Now silicon. Silicon contains 4 electrons in the outermost shell. If it accepts 4 electrons, its electronic configuration will be 288. It will attain the stability. Suppose if it donates electron, after donating 4 electrons, its new electronic configuration will be 28. Hence, after donating or accepting, it will complete its octet and it will attain the stability. Phosphorus, sulfur and chlorine, they are having 5, 6 and 7 electrons respectively in the outermost shell. These elements, instead of donating electrons, they will accept electrons and they will attain the stability by completing the octet. Argon has 8 electrons in the outermost shell. It will neither accept nor donate the electrons. So we can conclude that as we go from left to right in a period, the tendency to lose electron decreases. That means metallic property decreases. So the final conclusion will be, when we go from left to right in a period, the metallic property decreases. And on the other hand, the tendency to accept electron increases. So we can say that when we go from left to right in a period, the non-metallic property increases. Now let's observe this non-metallic and metallic property in a group. We learned that when we go down the group, the number of shells increases. As the number of shell increases, the atomic size also increases. In other words, the distance between nucleus and the outermost shell increases. So, if the electron goes far away from the nucleus, it will be easier to remove that electron as there is no or less influence of nucleus on that electron. In short, the metallic property or the tendency to lose electron increases down the group. So we can summarize that down the group, as the atomic size increases, the distance between the nucleus and the outermost shell increases, the electrons are easily donated, hence the metallic property increases and non-metallic property decreases. So friends, I think we have discussed all the important concepts, points which are related to this topic. Now, if you have understood this topic correctly, immediately starts to complete the exercise. If you have any doubt or any problem, you may contact me on my WhatsApp number. My WhatsApp number is shared in the description of this video. I heartily thanks for watching my channel, and if you have not subscribed yet, just subscribe it. Thank you.